and then the spring flowers turn into red berries through fall. Thus the name red cluster berry. So anytime you see the word cotoneaster, you know it's going to be good here. Animals don't eat it, drought hardy, there's a lot going on for it. I think this is a far, far better choice than red-tipped photinia. There's just nothing but issues. If you've got red-tipped photinias, I would hook that sucker up to a chain and rip it out with a bumper. Just kind of get it out of there because it's mildew, deer eat it, it's just constant issues. But I make a lot of money. I'm sending 2 kids to private colleges right now based on the maintenance that red-tipped photinia required. So just in bug issues, repellent, just all the stuff they take. They're fast growing, they're pretty, but they're high maintenance. This is no maintenance down the road. 10 by 10, 10 by 10 The tag says 6 to 8 feet. I have experience that it really likes it here. Grows every bit of that and a little bit more. Loves to be trimmed up, loves to be hedged and that kind of stuff. This is another one I'm not going to plant for the same reason. Junipers, you know, we have juniper forests surrounding the area. Just a second. So junipers, they're just natural. They just do really well. And so this is a sea green juniper. Let me see the exact model. Mint julep. It's a new variation. It's a little bit brighter green, and it doesn't get as woody on the inside, so it stays. It's a nicer form than the regular sea green you'll find in some other places. This one gets up head high by about this wide, just 6 by 6. Nice, thick evergreen. This is the one, if you're a landlord, you've got tenants, I go plant junipers, because you can't kill them, nor can your tenants. They can run them over with a truck, they'll still live. So this one will keep going for you. Slow, methodical growth, you just count on it. And it always looks like this bright, cheery green without any maintenance. Again, drought hardy, no animals eat it. You just can't kill a juniper. So it's a great one for that.
What was the name of the first one you did?
Coral Beauty Cotoneaster.
Coral.
Yeah. Oh wait, sorry, that's the ground cover. Red clusterberry. My bad. My brain distracted too fast here. Isn't that pretty? This is the only hardy hibiscus. Actually, no, there's one other. This is the only shrub hibiscus that will live here. It's called Rose of Sharon. So we're trying to get more and more varieties of this, more colors. Basically, it used to be your grandmother grew white with a red eye. That was all they had. Now we've got blues, pinks, double pinks, pinks with a red eye. There's different models. This is the only one that's got that blue variety. But Rose of Sharon gets up, figure head high, easy to keep it down to about chest high. Just trim it. And then you can count on every summer through fall. It's going to do this. And then it goes deciduous. It'll get this beautiful gold color. And then drop its leaves and it's just kind of twiggy through there. I chose a couple of different vines to plant across the street, so we'll cover this one. This is the native that grows here. This is very drought hardy. No animals eat it. This is very tough. For here, it's a very tough plant. This is Virginia creeper. Gets up, it'll start turning red. You're starting to see the first tinge of red on, well, obviously, you start to see red. All around town, you start to see red. This is one that announces that it's autumn. And I think this coming week, it's officially fall. So we're here. So it's right on time. This in the fall, the flame maples are the ones that kind of announce first, and the sumac. So it's kind of the first wave, leading wave of fall color. This one you cannot kill. Again, animals don't eat it. Just tough. You'll see it growing wild up in the Bradshaws underneath the canopies, junipers, oaks. It's just crawling through the ground cover. A lot of folks will use them as erosion control up the hillside, as a ground cover, or up fences, kind of soften up the chain link. I mean, nothing beats your house faster than chain link fence. You can scream, 1980s, got it! So here you can soften that up, and it kind of makes it look more secret garden kind of feel. Very pretty, very tough. What else? Got these, those. Roses. I think roses and shrubs, it's a #1. Every landscape I design or plant starts with roses. You have to have a rose because we're so low maintenance here. They don't get mildew if you plant the right one. I really like the carpet and the shrub roses. They're grafted on their original. They're not grafted roses. They're actually on their own rootstock. So they have less issues, less bugs, less powdery mildew, less all that stuff. Basically, they start blooming in April. They stop blooming in mid-November, and then there's no maintenance to them. You trim them back in March with a hedge shear, and you're done. That's a pretty good little shrub. Nothing has color like a rose or a rose. Period. This comes close. This is autumn sage or Salvia gregii, but you know this is not as impressive as this. This attracts hummingbirds. This attracts hummingbirds. This is red. This is colorful. This is colorful. But this is big, bold, and just gorgeous, like a rose can only be. But every yard should have one of these too. It's just a tough little. It just gets knee high by knee wide shrub. It doesn't stay green. It's deciduous. Got him. This is, you'll see here in about 2 to 3 weeks a shrub that looks like it's on fire. Like Moses went to the hillsides just before he's talking to God, and boom! This is the shrub that God was talking through. This is burning bush. Brilliant red, unbelievable red. No other red is like this. No other fall shrub is this kind of color. But burning bush does very, very well here. And then as it drops its foliage, it has this really interesting, you should take a close look. It's got this very, not variegated, but just got interesting texture to the foliage. Makes very interesting flower arrangements, that kind of stuff. And take it off like that, kind of like with red twig dogwood. It's kind of the same way. Very interesting plant, even without foliage.
Maximum size on that tree?
About here, head high at most. Most folks will keep them trimmed down to this waist and chest high that are 4 to 5 feet, something like that. Red tip botania, #1 seller. I get tired of it. Just don't plant. I would never sell this to my friends or myself. I just don't plant this. It's too much maintenance. It's 12 foot by 12 foot. I mean, animals, small dogs and children have been lost in red tip botania. Everyone plants this right by the driveway. Here's a driveway, and then all of a sudden it's encroaching. They can't get their RV or they can't get their sports car down the road. Much because it just overpowers the entire space. Anyway. Lastly, burning bush. This one is all around town. You have Phycologist, some beautiful ones. It's got a flower on top of it. It's real light and airy, and it looks like it's on fire. That's the name, burning bush. Flowers.
Is it the same as that? You said that one was burning.
Oh, excuse me. Smoke bush.
Which one?
Smoke bush.
Okay.
Smoke. Looks like it's smoking. Thank you. I just talk and I don't think what's coming out of my mouth. I just kind of let it go. That one's burning bush. This one is smoke bush. Smoke.
And it's always that kind of colorish?
No, it comes in green, lime green, which is very pretty, and this purple. Purple's the #1 seller, and then the lime green's right behind it. I kind of like the lighter greens because there's so much purple already with our Arcady plums and stuff, but it comes in both. They're all related. Just, you like a blonde or you like a brunette. It just comes down to they're the same plant. The variation in color is the only difference.
How about animals? Yeah.
Nothing eats it. Drought hardy. Kick dirt at it. Talk dirty to it. It's just still gross.
How tall? How tall?
It gets big. 10 to 12 feet.
And how
Pretty
wide?
realistic. It's like a mini bush or a tall shrub is what it really grows up to.
How wide?
8 feet. It's kind of gross. It grows like this, up opposite of this, kind of base shaped. And then sometimes you'll see it as a tree. More likely you see it as a shrub. Okay? Everything else we have across the street. So there, why don't we kind of take a walking tour? It'll be very casual, very intimate. We can just kind of, with a small group we could do that. I would just give you a tour. And that's not done, but you get a flavor for what's. This is the the original rail house. So this property back in the early 1900s, the families, before air conditioning, the Phoenix families would come up here to Iron Springs community in the summer because Phoenix is a hellhole. I mean, it's hot. Who lives down there in the summer? Without air conditioning especially. And so they would come up here, and this lot was the place they'd take on water and more fuel, basically. And so the conductors would stay in this house while they're waiting for the trains. They moved this from this property over to here in 1942 or something like that. And so it's the original building. The walls are like a foot thick. They're unbelievable. But it's kind of a rat hole right now. It needs to be reconditioned. We're going to turn these into offices and then free up some more space in here for more retail, that kind of stuff. The economy's coming back, so I think it's time to have a artsy outdoor. But these will be our display gardens. So when we get all done throughout the whole thing, our staff can learn how big does this get. And then customers can mosey over if they know about it. Now you're in the know. That they can see how they're doing basically. So here, again, these are all deer resistive, drought hardy. I don't want to be a slave to watering. These will probably get watered this coming year. Then I'll cut it off and we'll just see how it does. It'll be on drip irrigation, so I can spot treat some irrigation if I need to kind of keep them blooming basically. But they'll be on their own pretty much. So this was really rough, really weedy, shrubs. They were just wild stuff growing. We ripped it all out, sprayed it. We've been killing it for the last month. Now we're finally to where we're landscaping. We put this mound right here to kind of show off, to define. This is parking and the city street, and then here's the property. It starts here. So it gave you the eye a place to look at instead of yuck, cars and fence line. Here, this will be so pretty. You'll want to look at this. So up here, this is mainly on the mound. Drought hardy stuff that stays low, like knee high and lower. So, and I wanted that Mediterranean. Everyone wants drought hardy, but your Phoenix folks from Palm Springs, they want cactus. Only cactus. That describes mountain gardens. Okay, I threw some cactus in here just to make them happy. That's not what we're all about. We're about 4 seasons. So I've got a smattering of all 4 seasons in here. We started with roses. Absolutely announces the entrance to the garden center, to the bungalow basically, is carpet roses. I really like the pinks. It comes in red, apple blossom, white, yellows. But I really like the pink because it pops. It really, against that dark foliage, it really shines. I think better than some of the other colors. And it just blooms, I think, better. In my mind, at least. You know, gardeners, we all have our own opinions on what our best plants are. Well, I got to pick the plants. So this will be deciduous somewhat. Sometimes roses can have some foliage, but generally they'll drop it. This is an evergreen. This is Raphaeoliptus or Indian hawthorn. This little guy gets about this tall by this kind of a nice little moundy green plant. So I've got an evergreen anchor, but then in the spring it has this very fragrant, very pink, very beautiful flower. So I get spring blossom and evergreen. I get 2 seasons covered with one plant. And it stays small, so I'm not going to compete with cars parking here and that kind of stuff.
What did you call that again?
This is Indian hawthorn.
And are these rabbit resistant too?
They're rabbit, deer, javelina. Of course, you can come over and check them anytime just to make sure. But there's everything is here.
What about blight? Blight is different.
Blight?
It's blight.
Blight. Doesn't get blight. We don't have blight here. Very rarely.
Okay.
Some years in the spring we'll have some blight when it's real wet spring, but very rarely. We had a little bit on the pears this year, but it was easily controlled. We're just so dry that we don't have some of those East Coast and Midwest kind of problems.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
What's blight?
This blight is a disease. It's athlete's foot of the foliage, basically. It just kind of rots the foliage. This is that autumn sage. This was growing wild here. It's just it hasn't been taken care of. We're going to trim it up, fertilize it, get it going, then we'll just let it go and get it to bloom some more like that.
I have spittlebugs on mine, and they told me to spray them off just with water. Is there a better?
Don't do that. If you're going to take the energy to spray spittlebug or any bug, don't listen to any gardener that says just hose it off with water. Because you know what they do within an hour? They come right back on.
It took me 2 weeks to get rid of them.
Don't do that. Just get a bottle of Home Harvest. It's a organic spray. This is one you do want to be careful when you spray because hummingbirds like it so much. You don't want to poison the bees as pollinators. But the home harvest is organic, very safe. You spritz it right on that little spittle bug where it's oozing that white, gooey, loogie looking stuff. It'll wipe them right out. I've controlled all my grapes that way with that. I just go through and spot and start harvesting grapes.
Now mine looks different. I have some autumn sage, but it looks different than that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different varieties. Yellows to purples to, this happens to be red.
This just seems to be more bushy, and mine's got less branches.
More food. If it doesn't look lush and full and tropical looking,
Okay.
fertilizer. These are heavy feeders. In fact, all of these I'll probably fertilize 3 times a year just to keep them. These are display gardens. So I want them to be over the top with color and blooms and rich in color. As soon as they start to fade, well then they're not impressive and I can't sell as many. Again, I got 2 girls in college I got to pay for. I need to sell some plants. And so this has been fertilized. You can see how rich and green it is. But we'll trim it as soon as it goes dormant. Right now the hummingbirds are in their migration pattern. So I want to keep as many flowers as I can up for them. So then I'll trim it after we're done and winter's kind of here. I'll just trim it up.
And how far do you trim down there?
Just like ball shaped. This is not a pruning class though. This is a shrub class. This, every garden needs to have some grasses. You just have to have a grass. You just look at, you see, the grasses are what add motion, the magic to a garden. So this is switchgrass. I'm thinking this is going to be deer resistant. It's real tough. It's got a razor blade kind of a blade to it. In the back we have red sedge. That's more dark back there, so I wanted a light colored, that red colored grass. The only one that is not deer resistant is this one. This is Carl Forrester grass. I don't know if you all have met Vincent Price. He's the mascot, the dog that roams around, the black lab. Vincent lives to eat grass. And that's his favorite one. So I planted it for him. I'll see how long it goes for the deer find it, but if not, I own a garden center, I'll replace it. But I'll see if it's surrounded by other things that deer don't like, maybe they'll leave that one alone. We'll see. So the grass, I've got 3 different grasses here, just to kind of soften it up. I kind of spaced them through the garden center. As you float through this park kind of like setting, I wanted grasses on either side of you so you felt good about walking through the gardens. This is another one. I use this one a lot around my pond. So I've got a wild backyard. I put this fairly large pond. It's 1,000 gallons or so with a stream going through it. But I wanted to accent and focus the eye on the pond, and so I used this one. This is tiger eye sumac. Anytime you hear the word sumac, you know you have a native that is tough as nails. Sumacs grow wild here. This one gets about this tall, so it's less invasive, less problematic. Some sumacs are very large and they sucker like crazy. So this one stays small, low maintenance, but I like it because the pond tends to get kind of a dark color. It has a glassy kind of surface. This has a real light foliage to it, and then it's one of the first shrubs to turn this bright orange, unbelievable orange. Another week or so it'll be, wow, look at this. And then you know that autumn is here, okay? This one and this one. This is crepe myrtle. So the summer bloomers, they're in full glorious bloom right now all around town. So this is one that will be dormant. It's got this pretty aspen gold foliage in the fall, so you get fall color. Then it gives me the summer and fall bloom that I wanted. So I planted specifically for the summer and fall blooms.
What color again?
This one happens to be purple, I believe. So they come in every color you can think of. There's no color more vivid than a crepe myrtle. And it's just really spectacular color. This one is a great pollinator. Grows about this tall, this hip high, beautiful little mound. It's called false spirea, or coreopterus. Don't ask me how to spell that, just call it false spirea. I have several of these in my backyard because I like the birds, and I'm into pollinators and butterflies. I like the bees, and so I plant this one because it's in bloom from summer through fall. It's just starting to fade now, and far less maintenance than this bad boy up here. This is Russian sage, the other purple one. This is a weed. Oh, weeds are good. I mean, but this will be high maintenance because it'll seed, it'll come up in places. Whereas your fall spirea, same color, same, a little more shapely, less of this mange rangy kind of look, a little more formal looking. In the middle of the garden, I want it to be neater. Out here, this was growing wild. We just decided to incorporate it into the landscape. If it starts to become problematic, I'll take a shovel to it and pop it right out of the ground. I'm not going to be into high maintenance. It starts to sucker everywhere, pop it right out. So I have no love affair with plants. They're there for my enjoyment, not my workload. So I tend to do that. This one is another local native. This is anytime you hear broom, Spanish broom, Scotch broom, they're all really good plants. I think of this kind of like a pencil plant in the house plant. It does have a foliage to it. I mean, real tiny, tiny leaves, but really it gets most of its photosynthesis through the stems. So it looks good year round. It's evergreen. It gave me a different texture. It's not a grass, but it kind of has that feel to it. And in the spring, it's going to have this beautiful yellow flower that's very fragrant. This one happens to be Spanish broom, which has a beautiful purple flower. Same flower, pea-shaped flower, but it's purple. But, oh, that'll be really neat. I incorporate some of the purple in here. It'll really be interesting, and it'll give someone something interesting to look at. I've got other yellows in the yard. Purple will be a good contrast. Drought hardy. If you're going to kill this, you'll kill it from overwatering. Just absolutely overwatering.
That's the strongest bloom I've ever smelled on any plant.
Very fragrant.
The yellow ones in our neighborhood are just like, whoa.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's very nice. But in the middle of the landscape, it's quite nice. It'll walk through the offices, and it'll really smell quite good. This one is another local native. This is rock rose. It'll have these big flowers about that big, all over it, spring into early summer. So I get that seasonality to it. But it's a nice evergreen shrub. Again, I'll probably water this 1 year, cut it off of all care, except for fertilizer every once in a while. It's that drought hardy.
How big will it get?
It gets maybe this tall and kind of just above knee high, kind of ball shape. Nice formal looking shape, but in the spring as you look through, you go, oh, that'll really catch your eye. And then it floats into some of these other native. It softens up. If you get too much of just this, it looks deserty. And we're not desert. We have pine forest and juniper forest. We're four season. It's a different kind of look. This is a variegated agave. Yuccas and agaves. I kind of use those in the same way. And I've got some of those. This is a wild agave or century plant. It's one that puts out the huge flower, big white flower. That's this one. This will put on a smaller flower, kind of white, about this tall. But I planted this here to kind of take your eye off this pole and then draw your eye to this spiky looking kind of, it's just physically, design wise, it drew your eye away from this. I'll take this ivy and grow this up here, and you'll never see this in a season or two. You'll never even know that pole is there. So again, another type of broom. This is related to this, but this is ground cover. This is upright. But I didn't want anything really spiky up here. I want to be able to see the landscapes. So I put all the ground covery low things up here, the little bit taller things up here. So it's kind of a progression up through here.
What is it?
The broom?
No, the broom. Yeah, the kind of broom.
This is a gold flash broom. Gold flash. And there's some in there. It's not that impressive right now. It's evergreen. So I get the winter, then I also get the spring bloom, both. And it stays low as a ground cover. What else we got? This is growing wild on the property. I just moved it to here. It's just a soft leaf yucca, but it's old. So yuccas, as they grow, they'll turn into little miniature trees. Oh, that's cute. I'll face it here and reposition it, and it'll be nice. It looks like it's about to bloom. Look at that. Flowers just starting to form. So one last hurrah as we go into fall. But an evergreen, and many times, not always, I'll get a white flower in the summer. Okay. Where else? So this stuff, all of this is really, really, really ugly, and it'll be gone here shortly. Here I planted 2 vines. I love the experiment, kind of that Darwinian battle of the see which one wins kind of stuff. So here I planted 2. This is Akebia, which is one of my favorite evergreen vines. And then I competed with this is hops, like you brew beer with. This is deciduous, that is, it'll lose its leaves. This is evergreen, so I got something to carry me. But I thought this is such a fast grower, I think it's going to get up to the top of this very short order, like next year. And then this is a little bit slower growing, so we'll see how they grow. I've never done this experiment before. I was going to put a clematis here, which is my normal thing to do. But this is I get bored with gardening, so I'm going to let's try this design, see how it goes together. But again, the goal is to hide all this. Can't kind of make it blend into the gardens.
Which is deciduous?
The hops is deciduous. Very fast grower. And hops, you don't have to harvest the flower. It's got the most beautiful lacy flower to it. It's very interesting. So, and when people see it, they go, ooh, what is that? Which is what you want in a garden. You kind of want to have that ooh factor. Yeah.
Will the akebia hurt a tree if you grow it up a tree?
No, in fact, one of the prettiest things, I had a good gardener that worked for me for many years. He grew a akebia right through his oak tree, like a big emery oak, the wild oaks, right up to the top and just spilled out. It's beautiful, just beautiful. So this is pomegranate. It's kind of an experiment. I'm not sure if it's deer resistant. I'm just trying it. Puts on the big fruits. I'm not going to harvest the fruit. It is actually edible, but I'll keep it just so I have that fall, really summer through winter. I'll keep the fruits on as an ornament, but the flowers are bright, bright red in the spring. So you get spring blooms, summer fruits, and then fall and winter ornamental fruits if you keep them on there. So that's why that's planted here. This is Apache plume. Puts on these little tufts of flowers. Sometimes they have a white flower and then these tufts come on all the time. So this one is a wild one. I'll water it for a year, cut off of all care to keep it down low. Otherwise it'll tend to get this big and sucker. So I'll just neglect it. Then I'll trim on it. And if it still gets out of hand, I'll pull it out of the landscape. So we'll just kind of get rid of it. This one we need to plant more of. This is St. John's wort. Now it's just finishing up its flower. Puts on this little tiny fruit. Many of them will have a real bright fruit to it. St. John's wort is very drought hardy. Loves the heat. I mean, more heat the better. Surrounded by asphalt, it'll love that. So for a lot of rock lawns, this is a good plant for here. So I planted it in here because it's got a real bright yellow flower spring and summer. And the fruits next year, when it's a little more robust and rooted, have a real pretty fruit that'll carry me through winter. So I get 3 seasons out of one plant. I'll often plant these into containers as well. So pretty up at the front of the house or in the garden as an anchor. It's a real pretty plant.
So it doesn't get real big.
Doesn't get big. Stays little, which is why it's by this pathway. All these guys are big enough to make a statement, make you feel like you're walking through a secret garden, but not so big that they overpower and it's a high maintenance thing. Now we go to shade gardens. Underneath these trees, the north side of the house, that's all these guys. So I actually love shade gardens because you just don't get I don't get to play with them a lot. Mostly we deal with sun. So here I've got the leading edge. This is the east, so we get some sun this way, and then as soon as we get up to about 10, 11 o'clock, it's already shaded, full shade. It'll stay that way. So these are all shade-loving plants. This one is called a Cuba. It looks tropical, doesn't it? This thing is as tough as nails. I've had it underneath my juniper tree for several years. I needed a bright spot underneath the junipers. It's very, very dark. And junipers are always littering. They're always throwing stuff off. And so very few things can live under those conditions. This thrives. Mine's about 5 or 6 years old. It's about this tall, about this wide now. So it's a very slow grower and evergreen. Isn't that bright?
Yes.
So I thought I'd give a bright pop. So your eye's drawn to this one because it's so bright and cheery, and year round it'll give me that. Okay?
What about critters?
Well, it's an experiment. We'll see what happens. I don't think animals will eat it. I've got rabbits and pack rats. They've left it alone, but it's in my backyard. So I've controlled the deer so far in Javelina, but we'll know here very, very shortly. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised we didn't know last night. These were planted yesterday. All this was just planted like yesterday. I mean, pots were flying. It's all just in.
So if we come by in another week and it's leveled.
you'll know,
Yeah.
oh, not a good one.
Right.
It's good for us to know, and then we can advise later. So I call it a test victim. We'll see what happens, okay? This is rhododendron. Rhododendrons and azaleas. I'm going to plant this one today. This is a big rhodi. So animals do not eat rhododendrons. Deer, javelina, rabbit, they don't eat rhododendrons. They don't. But I get that really, really bright flower first of spring. Kind of the announcement of spring is your camellias, rhododendrons, forsythias, they kind of go, spring is here. So this one will be bright. I think this is a pink flower. So that'll be really nice underneath this canopy of trees. This one happens to be rock rose rhododendron. I planted this one pink flower again. I'm trying to tie in the pink theme. But notice the stems on this one are real bright red. So it'll be a kind of an interesting winter. Just got winter interest and then spring flowers. I get winter and spring both covered.
It stays green.
Stays green, yeah. Both these stay green.
And they do okay in our alkaline soil?
Oh, they love it. Yeah, they're absolutely spectacular specimens.
Because they grow in the Northwest and it's acidic up there.
Now here, I did put a lot of amendments, and we'll go over how to plant that real quick. I did add quite a bit of compost, and whenever I fertilize, I'll use an acidic-based fertilizer, which is our water's all-purpose plant food. It's already acidic. We know that's our water's the issue, so we just front load, knowing you're gonna have issues with alkalinity. While you're fertilizing, just use water's magic juju stuff, and it'll all turn around. This is Forsythia, which it's kind of an experiment. I think there's enough light here. If it gets too tall and leggy and starts to lean, I'll pull it out of here. But I wanted to try it. So part of the experiment is how much shade can sun lovers use? And then the other experiment is how much sun can shade lovers go? So we're trying to get a feel for that, and I'm always testing that. This one should be out in full sun, but I really, really wanted that bright yellow flower in spring, first of spring, like March. This thing is like lit up. Well, underneath this dark area, it's really gonna make a statement.
Yeah.
I know next spring it'll be spectacular. Will it start to lean and grow as it starts to mature? Will it start to lean? If it leans too much, it looks funny, I'll pull it out of there and put something else in. So it's kind of experiment. This is butterfly bush. Sort of the same experiment. It needs full sun out there, but I really like the pink. It pops underneath this secret pathway kind of thing. This is the shortcut from that office to the back dock when a truckload shows up. So why not feel good about going to your job by having one? And butterflies do love butterfly bush. This is Miss Ruby. Normally butterfly bush are very tall and they're just purple, lavenders. This one is dwarf, only gets this big, so it'll stay in its place, and it's this bright pink. Okay. This is the native. Grows wild out in Dewey, Kirkland, Baghdad, those areas. This is desert willow. That's a new variety called, what's the new variety? There we go, Burgundy Desert Willow. Monrovia came out with a variety that doesn't put as many seed on, so it'll bloom a little better. It still puts some seed, but it'll just has a longer bloom cycle. Mainly summer, and then in the fall it has this real bright gold color to it. So I get fall color, and I also get a summer through fall flower to it. This will get quite large because this is really ugly, and so I want it to get, this big, pretty short order, but I want it to be native. So this one, again, I'll water it until it gets up to size, then I'll cut it off of all care, and I'll just fertilize it and bring the flowers out so it doesn't grow any bigger. Okay. Right behind you, let's go this way. This is the north side of a house. All of us have a north side. Hard shade. The sun never really gets here. So these are all hardcore shade plants. I started with dogwoods. I really like the red twigged and the yellow twig dogwoods. Fall color, so you see just a hint of gold coming out now, but when the fall is done, it's left with these bright twigs, so I get this winter interest here. To anchor the evergreen, I put another akuba here, so you saw that over there, same thing, not Aruba, you travelers, akuba, same thing. Nice evergreen, it's bright, it'll give me something that feels good here. And then up here I have Weigelia. Weigelia is a deciduous plant. It has kind of a burgundy, fall, kind of a gold and with a red hue fall color. But in the spring and early summer, has this bright wine-colored flower to it. Very bright colored. and it's right blooming right when the hummingbirds are migrating back up north again. So hummingbirds love to snack on this particular plant. Kind of helps them out. This is Goshiki Holly. Just a nice evergreen or ever gold. I wanted something to accent this pivot point around the pavers, and so you don't take shortcuts. And so you see, you're trying to draw the eye, so you focus on this. We'll put a little settee or fire pit or something. I don't know what we'll do here, but something will be here. This kind of is a marker to kind of come through this way. Nice evergreen again. This is a pepper plant. It's an experiment. This is a zone 7. I'm hearing very good luck with folks growing this in Utah, Colorado, those a little bit warmer areas. So it's very tough little shade plant, but I haven't had personal experience with it yet. So I'm hearing from friends it grows really well here, but until I prove it myself. So we'll see if it goes through winter. If it is, we have an awesome evergreen that grows in the shaded areas. And the interest is, it kind of looks like a holly, manzanita, but it grows in the shade. Manzanita does not grow in the shade, so it kind of has that feel to it. That, and do deer eat it in javelina? I'll tell you shortly. That's kind of how it works. Back here, we've got an orchard going. Hey, neighbor. Hi. So I'm going to replant the orchards back here. So these are pretty ancient trees. So we just plugged a peach tree. And basically I'm just going to my staff going, what's your favorite fruit? We'll plant that one. So I need someone to harvest it all. So we'll plant a couple more. Back here I want to soften up the corral basically. So I'm going to plant a couple natives. This particular one. This grows wild throughout northern Arizona. You'll know it in spring. You won't ever see the plant. Just a nice evergreen shrub. Gets up about this tall. Animals don't eat it, but it has the most fragrant flower. It puts your broom to shame, puts lilac to shame. You won't see the flower, you'll smell it. In fact, I'll be walking the wild, I'll go, oh, there's an Elaeagnus here someplace. So or silverberry is a common name. Where is that? And I look around and go, there it is. You can always smell it before you see it. Then to change up the texture, I'm just gonna go with some display just to show folks what hedge plants can do. These are gonna be Emerald Arborvitae, just a classic formal shape. It just gives me some of this kind of interest to it. Most folks have planted all the same thing. Kind of boring. I just want to have sections of the same thing. Now here's the mistake people make with this. Don't plant one of these, and then one of these, and one of those. Don't put them all in the same block together, and it looks natural. As soon as you mix up the different textures and colors, it looks unnatural. So this will look like it's all been growing there. By the end of the day, it looks like it's been growing here for years. Okay, this is Emerald Arborvitae. It looks like the wind got to us yesterday. This is the exact same thing as that, with more sex appeal. It's got a variegated leaf to it. Again, Elaeagnus, a native. It just goes wild. So the deer, I got to worry about the horse eating on it, that kind of stuff. Nothing's going to eat this. It's got a real thick, leathery leaf. Then I can plant this, water it for a year, and then just let it go and not care for it anymore. It'd be real low maintenance kind of plant back here. And it'll hedge nicely. And then I don't know what I'm going to plant here. We'll see. Still experimenting. And then lastly, this is Nandina. Nandina it grows wild. Just every yard should have at least one Nandina. Now it gets a little overused again, but again, animals don't eat it. I don't know why. It looks delicious. But they don't. They leave it alone. Has a real pretty flower in spring. This particular model will put a little berry on it, little clusters of berries through winter. It's evergreen, so I get 3 seasons out of it. Spring blooms, summer and fall berries, and then winter evergreen. I actually get all 4 seasons covered with one plant. This will grow up about chest high or so, about like this. And it's evergreen. This is a new variety called Plum Passion. The winter color, Nandinas will change colors in the winter. Normally they're red. This one will turn a real pretty plum purple color. So just a different variety kind of stuff.
Will this one sucker, Ken?
They can a little bit, not too bad.
Okay.
So pretty easy to maintain these particular plants. Again, I'm going to combine it in this little bed. So the guy that lived here before was a rock hound. He loved collecting rocks all over the state. So I have these debris piles of rock. What am I going to do with them all? So I'm trying to use them up in beds and trying to use them up on the property. So this is kind of what we did, just to accent the, kind of define, oh, here's a hedgerow. Okay. Questions? Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say to mix the plants or group them
Oh,
together?
here, you notice I'm going to do 2 panels of the same thing. So I'm going to go Nandina down to here, then I'm going to go Elaeagnus to the next level, and then Emerald Arborvitae. So I'm putting blocks of plants together. Then I'll change it. Don't mix Elaeagnus, Emerald Arborvitae. You know, don't go different varieties. Commit to a section of that fence with the same thing, and then change the texture of the color. Okay. Many of us have a 100-foot fence line, and it looks kind of boring with the same thing all the way down. I think it's okay to mix it and change it up, but I would say if it's a really long fence line, buy 3 or 5 units, looks more natural, and just plant it right down the row and fill it in. So this will be filled in probably by the end of the year. Next year it'll fill in, look pretty nice. Should we go over how to plant? Just how we plant? Let's go to the front again. We'll just go over how we're actually installing each of the plants. In fact, let's go to the left because there's less trenches open.
I think you missed a couple along the main sidewalk.
Could be. There's a lot here, and we're not done yet.
Ken, when you're digging for the trench line,
Yeah.
the shrub line along the fence, what do you do with the big tree roots?
I have a hatchet here someplace. We just cut right through them.
That's not a concern for the tree?
No, these trees, these roots are every place, so I just cut right through them. And it's like root pruning. If you prune, it's just like pruning a branch off of the top of a tree. It doesn't even feel it. So you're fine. 3 things. You always need 3 things. We're using 4. Here are the 4 things. Mulch. You see we're heavily mulched throughout the whole area. So you need to add some compost to your soil. You just have to. Some of you literally have dead soil. That backhoe came in, scraped off all that living topsoil, and they threw it away to put your footers for your house, the pads for and you're digging into clay and muck, and there's not a living, breathing thing. You won't find one worm. You'll find no living thing in your soil. Then you're going to plant a tree in there and expect it to start living. Trees and shrubs don't work that way. They need to be in a living, breathing soil before they'll start to grow. Otherwise, what will happen is in 3 years, that plant will still be alive. It hasn't grown even an inch, just sitting there, looking at you, mocking you, defying to grow. And once they stunt like that, they never take off again. The way to get around that is to amend each hole with some compost to re-enliven the organics. The organics will bring in the mycorrhizal fungi, the worms will just be coming, all kinds of stuff will start happening, your soil starts activating. It's all done by mulch. That, and you need to change the structure of your soil. We're mostly dealing with heavy clays. Here I've got a little bit of sand on top, or silt, and then underneath that is like flagstone. It's really hard. About this far down the soil, it's really hard. So we're using mulch to keep the soil from compacting straight back down. So as soon as you water one time, that soil will take on the same, as soon as you dug out, you took a digging bar and jackhammer to dig it out, you water it one time, turns right back into that. Unless you change the physical structure of that soil by adding organic particles. And that'll keep it from compacting back down, allow the roots to go through the soil, okay? So you want to dig a hole that's about, I wish I had another plant, we were planting one, but if it's a 5-gallon bucket, 3 times the width, saucer shaped. You'll have a whole big pile of soil here. You just take about a third, 25, 30% mulch to your native soil, blend it, backfill. That's what we did for all of these, okay? After we get done, right behind you, we've got a few things here. We sprinkle a little bit of the all-purpose plant food. Sorry, we opened it up upside down. This is actually these are all working things. 744, the main ingredient in this, here we go. All-purpose plant food. It's an organic, so slow release. So it's cottonseed meal is the main ingredient. Makes things acidic. It's got some bird guano, bird poop in it. Some other fairy dust and stuff. It makes it all grow. Sulfur. This is very acidic. So it's going to change the water, get things to root. It's it's going to get things to bloom again. It gets them to take. We'll use that. At the bottom of the hole, I said we mentioned we use 4 things. Here's the other 4 things. When we're mixing our mulch, we add some AquaBoost crystals. Again, I want this landscape to be on its own by year end next year. These are soil polymers, so they swell up and hold 200 times their weight in water. They turn into gelatin kind of things. And we've infused these with mycorrhizal fungi. So the things that make soil alive, we just put that. We know that's an issue, so we put that actually in the crystal. You got a product that holds moisture at the root level. And mycorrhizal fungi, they encourage root growth. So the plants go, oh, something's going on here. Oh, this is something's happening. I think I should grow here. When they start sending off roots, you got 2 things that help it make it more drought hardy. AquaBoost crystals.
And that's at the bottom of the hole?
Yeah, bottom, or I'll just blend it. I've done it both ways. Or if it's an established plant, I'll dig a hole and sprinkle it into the hole. That kind of thing. At the very end, we water everything in with root and grow. It's a transplant shock. It's like open heart surgery. When you pull this thing out of the bucket, throw it in the ground, and it's like open heart. It is rough on a plant. Look how healthy it looks, or how much care you took. It's rough. And so this helps stabilize it. So I'll water this in. After we're all done today, tomorrow, whenever we're all done, I'll water everything in. And then I'll come back in about 2 or 3 weeks and do it again. And that's usually all I'll do with this. So just to help stabilize the plant, get it to start taking. Once it starts sending those roots off, it just goes from there. If you amended your soil correctly. Okay.
You don't need to do that every water.
Not every watering. Okay. No, too much. So especially if you're using some of the fertilizer and the other stuff, should just once or twice should be enough. In the growing season, in the spring, I'll do it every 2 weeks until I see the plant stabilized. And you know that by new growth. You see the root, the leaf buds starting to form new flowers, and I go, oh, it's happy. I'll cut it off with this. My tomatoes, everything gets this. Every time I plant, I use this. Is not used enough. We used to use B1. Remember B1? Your grandparents used B1.
Yeah.
What we found in university testing is there's no difference between B1 and water.
Oh, you're
I went, you got to be kidding me. I'm not selling this garbage. So this is B1 as a base with a little mild fertilizer. It's got some root hormone. It's actually got some rooting hormones in it. So it's actually stimulating, encouraging new root hairs is what it does. So it's kind of a fancy, something I put together. I like all the science of gardening. I like to play with the limits and see how to make things grow. It's kind of my thing. So anyway, questions?
How much do you use of the little jar stuff?
This goes a long, this is like a season's worth. I usually buy one of these every spring when I'm planting. The crystals will last in the ground for about 5 years. They say 7. I'm seeing about 4 or 5 years seems to last in the soil. I've been playing with these for decades. This will do 1 gallon plant takes 1 tablespoon. A 5-gallon plant takes 5 tablespoons. A 15-gallon plant, guess 15 tablespoons. Yeah, so it goes a long ways. It's a lot of plants. Okay. So, questions?
What's this beautiful
Shrubs. That is a viburnum. Sorry, that gets a white flower in spring. Very tough. The other ones are a zebra grass. It's a Miscanthus, the native, related to our native grass. This is spirea. It's a pink flower in the spring. It's be covered in spring into early summer. It's got a fall color, gold fall color. This is a new ice plant I'm playing with. We'll see. It's supposed to be a hardy ice plant. I don't know yet. I'm not selling them. Next spring I'll get to comfortable with it. I'll bring it in, introduce it. It'll be the first one. You'll only find it available here at Waters Garden Center. That's what we'll play with it and see. Start introducing it. Do they like them?
Yeah.
We'll see how javelina do with it. They might be harvesting the moisture. So
Is that a spirea also? Right
this
there?
is false spirea.
Oh.
Everyone has a similar flower to regular spirea, but it's Coreopterus. It's not a spirea. It's actually a cousin, but not truly a spirea. Thus the name false. Then a rosemary. This is a Tuscan. Gets up kind of bushy. And again, I wanted to angle the pathways and soften. I wanted to feel like I'm walking through a garden, and so it'll give me the fragrance as I come into the house, into the office. And then it's got a blue flower in March, And again, another blue flower. It blooms a long time, and it's evergreen. Then behind you, I took a tree. Just said, what am I going to do with this circle? I have no idea. Well, a little miniature tree would be good here. Yeah. This is related to a Bradford pear. It's an ornamental pear. It's the last tree to turn red. It's got white flowers in spring, bright, like bridal white flowers, covered, no leaves, just flowers. It's got this nice waxy, thick leaf, which makes it very drought hardy. I think it's going to be on the same water cycle as the rest of the stuff and do fine. And then it's the last tree to turn red in the fall. So about Thanksgiving, this will turn fall. It's kind of, winter's here when the ornamental pears turn red. That's it. And then this one stays small, only gets about 12 feet tall, whereas the normal one gets 30, 40 feet tall. This will just stay like cute little size, lollipop shaped. I think it'll be perfect for right here. But if it's not, it overgrow, I'll get a few years out of it and it gets too big. I'll try to trim it. It still gets too big. It'll be bumper bound and pulled out. Put something cuter in there. I don't know, something different.
Can I do full sun as well?
Full sun. Yeah, love sun. Sun. The only thing I'm not convinced is the deer might try to strip some of the bark off. Sometimes deer will take the fruit trees and kind of strip some bark. We'll see. I've got solutions for that. If I've had experience, I keep them off of it. It's a new jasmine, evergreen jasmine we're going to play with. And again, it's at zone 7. I think it's going to do really well. If it does, we'll introduce more of them next season.
What kind of a tree is that?
That's a box elder.
Box elder. Really?
Box elder. That's pink flamingo. Box elder. It just was wild here in the property. We've been selling it for a few years. We need to do more of that. It's a cute, small tree, and it turns a bright pink, kind of a orangey, pinky color in the fall. So it's a spectacular fall color. And I just pruned it up and cleaned it, and we'll use it as an accent. I'll probably throw some underplantings or something there. I'm not quite sure what to do with that yet. I'll get done with construction on the other one, a remodel, and then I'll move it. But I think those are in the nursery. You could buy one of those for yourself. Okay. Good class, folks. Shrubs and planting and all that. You should be able to go forward, and there's so many more choices you can go with. This is this gardener's selections for this garden. Okay. Thanks, you all.
One more question: when you're planting a bush, do you need to keep the crown a little up above?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Make sure that the soil. You don't want plants in a dip. No divot. That's a mistake. That's a curse that Phoenix sends up to us. Of course, they only get 4 inches of rain a year, and they get no rain. When they do, it's all at once. Here, we get continual rain, 19 inches. We get 4 times as much water as they do, and we don't get hot like they do. So never water in the evening, only water in the morning before the heat of the day, so we'll do that. And then make sure the plants are at soil level or even a little above. You folks out in the 69 corridor, the ranch up by Hills, Prescott Valley, all the way to Cordis Junction, heavy hard clays. And it's panhandle. There's a caliche layer underneath that. And you're going to drown your plants. So there we always plant on a very slight mound. We'll leave about 2 inches of the root out of the ground and mound up around that, put the emitter on top of that or a water basin around that, just to ensure the plants can breathe. Otherwise, you're getting that heavy clay, you're getting that monsoonal rain, or even worse, the March will get those heavy wet snows, and the plant will literally drown in the ground. It'll just rot right there in the ground.
What did you say this one is?
This is a jasmine.
Jasmine, okay. That yellow flower that's on that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was thinking evergreen.
Yes.
I mean, this is a putsy little, this is a 1 room, this is a studio, it's tiny. I think it's 270 square feet. So we put a little more energy into the entrance, more energy into the back patio and deck, and the employees will come over and they'll eat lunch and kind of camp out. Yeah.
Are there other shrubs like edibles, like the rosemary or the bay works well here?
So many. Now, bay isn't because it's zone 8, unless you protect it. Now, I have had good luck with bay down in Skull Valley, Kirkland, but you're at the 4,000 foot level and below. Up here, probably not going to winter over. You containerize it and then bring it into an Arizona room. But your thyme, lavenders, I'll probably introduce the lavender in here. So I'll get that nice gray foliage and spiky. I'll probably put that in a container. So here I have 3 valves on the house. One is for trees and shrubs. One is for flowers. So I'll accessorize with some gaillardias, echinaceas, spring, summer, fall blooming flowers. We'll incorporate those into there. But they're smaller plants. They need more frequent watering. So I got a separate valve, separate drip system just for that. Then I have another system dedicated just to container gardens because I love containers. So but I don't want to water. Computers were invented by man to run irrigation. So the computer will run the containers, the flowers, and the trees, but they'll all be in their own separate cycles. So there's 3 valves here. And so the one trench, well, for every trench, pipe is cheap. You can easily lay three lines in there when you're opening up the trench. It's all the labor to put the stuff in. That's what costs. So and then your valve system's a little bit. Okay.
Are you doing an irrigation? In what class?
In the spring, I'll do irrigation.
Spring? Okay.
Yeah, it's really when we're starting to power up the systems.
We have one this fall too.
Oh, I
Winter.
do? Oh, Ken will tell you later after we're all done when that irrigation class is. It'll probably be winter, water in the winter. Set your valves to midday. We'll go over all the details of it'll be technical. But
Okay, and that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Are you watering anything with that chain?
no, this is just we had a valve here. I didn't want a drain pipe because it's ugly.
Right.
And then how can I decorate that? So I took a pretty pot that matches the pot we're gonna do here, and I filled it with some of those rocks just to make it look. It's art, Spade. This
Okay.
is my interpretation of a rain chain.
I thought maybe we're harvesting them.
No, not harvesting. It's too hard to harvest. This soil, I think, with a hard pan underneath, I'm not going to need to. I think if I go with the right plant selection, I'll be fine.